Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, been spending a lot of time talking about California. Now I get to go all the way to the other side of the country and talk about New York. And for those of you who have geeked out on my channel for a while now, you know that I'd like to tell a story that my dad always told me, which is, son, anytime you think you got it really, really bad, you usually don't have to look too far to find someone who's got it way worse than you. And so as miserable as we are here in the state of Washington, and for good reasons, you really don't have to look too far to find residents who actually have it far worse than us. California, New York, and Illinois are the first three that come to mind. Well, as we know, after New York got smacked down in the matter of New York Pistol and Rifle Association v. Bruin, they passed a whole new Concealed Carry Improvement Act, which has been the subject of a whole slew of new lawsuits. Now, recently, we've seen new background checks go into effect, where they've removed it from the NICS system because, you know, the state of New York and the New York State Police know how to do it better. It has, of course, created a massive, massive problem, a massive headache, and of course it is meant to achieve the ultimate goal of civilian disarmament. But it has caught the attention of Justice Clarence Thomas, and perhaps Governor Hochul and part of this law might be in serious trouble. So today, let's get everyone in New York educated about, is New York about to get the shadow docket? Okay, so what we're talking about today is New York's Concealed Carry Improvement Act, one of the later implementations of it. Now, we know the lawsuits have been flying ever since Governor Hochul and everyone else in Albany got together and threw a big old middle finger at the United States Supreme Court. So, one of the things that the state of New York was going to do with their Concealed Carry Improvement Act is that in September of this year, they were going to remove all background checks from the NICS system, you know, the way everybody else does it. And they were going to run all background checks through the New York State Police Department. Now, for those of you in New York and those of you who've actually tried to get a concealed carry license, you know how efficient your New York State Police Department is with the background check system. As it relates to that, I have heard many, many horror stories of people waiting well over a year with no answer, no communication whatsoever. Now, even though every other state seems to be able to run everything through the NICS system, and it works for the most part pretty well, the state of New York decides, no, we're going to take it upon ourselves. And of course, what also is implemented at this time is a whole new background check required for ammunition. That's right. So if you go into any sporting goods store in the state of New York and you want to just buy a box of 22s, yeah, you're going to have to go through a background check, and you got to wait until the background check clears. So essentially, you're stuck with a waiting period to pick up a box of ammo. Now, you can imagine what this is doing to New York State retailers. It is killing them. Many New Yorkers are probably either going online to find it, if they can do it that way, or going to other states to purchase their ammunition. And of course, this is the goal of Governor Hochul and all of her cronies in Albany, which is, again, complete and utter civilian disarmament. Now, despite the fact that there was a lawsuit filed and an attempt to get an injunction at the last minute, and as you know, every justice that on the United States Supreme Court has a circuit for which they supervise. And the Second Circuit, where New York resides, actually is supervised by Justice Sotomayor. Now, just prior to this law's implementation, there was a plea to Justice Sotomayor to issue an injunction stopping the law from going into effect. She took a pass on that. Shocker. However, under Supreme Court rules, once you have made your motion to the justice in charge of that circuit, you are entitled, or if you want, you can renew that motion to any other justice on the Supreme Court bench. I wonder, who might be the best justice for that? That's right. It actually is Justice Thomas. Now, Justice Thomas has taken up this issue, and he has added it to the Supreme Court's emergency docket for October 6th, okay? Now, it's called the emergency docket. There essentially is two dockets in the Supreme Court. There is the merits docket. That's the docket that we follow all along. That's the one that's got all of the cases that we're going to hear oral arguments on and ultimately get rulings. If you look there, you will see United States v. Rahimi, which is scheduled for November, okay? Then there is the emergency docket, or what some people call the shadow docket. Now, what the shadow docket most frequently does is it just issues scheduling orders, okay? The briefs are due by this date, oral arguments are going to be on this date, reply briefs are due by this date, exhibits are due by this date, whatever it may be, okay? That's what 90% of it does. But occasionally, an issue gets before the court that is so urgent, so important. You see this frequently on appeals on death penalty cases where literally the inmate is going to get executed in the next 24 to 48 hours. These are issues where they're asking for a stay of the execution or some other remedial measure at that point that they will end up there. So those are some of the rulings you get. You can also see injunctions. You could see that the court could take it from the shadow docket and move it back onto the merits docket and schedule oral arguments, or you could see the court actually decide the issue on the merits. Now, that is rare that it happens, but it has happened, and it's happened with a little bit more frequency under Chief Justice John Roberts. So, what could happen here in New York is one of several things. It is on the emergency, aka shadow docket, for October 6th. Now, one of the things that could easily happen is nothing, okay? Absolutely nothing. It gets in there, and after all 9 justices discuss it, there's not enough interest in it, and you're going to have to pursue this through normal, regular appellate channels, okay? The justices could issue an injunction. That would be fantastic. The justices could set it for oral argument and notify the parties of all briefing schedules, and now you are on the merits docket for probably sometime early 2024. You could also see them order the Second Circuit to take action consistent with an order. So there are many things that can happen. And so October 6th, if you are a New York resident and you are suffering through this horrific experience, which again, I have read enough articles on enough publications to understand that nothing is working with this. Not for the firearms, not for the ammunition, the delays. Everyone's getting delayed, and many people are getting rejected who have never been rejected before. So this is, as we predicted it would be, a complete and unadulterated disaster. So New York, you need to circle October 6th. That's the date. And obviously, if anything happens and we get word of it, hey, we will get a video done to get you guys all up to speed. Now, if you got any other questions about New York's Concealed Carry Improvement Act, which does not improve anything, or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now, but if you don't, that's okay. That information is right down there in the description box. Now, in the meantime, let's remember, part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.